gorgeous instruments. Do you play all of them?
I do indeed.
Wow.
Wow.
Love to hear that sound.
Well, lucky for you, we have the recording already posted on the Days of Learning.
Oh, great.
But I was talking with Ellen, and we were talking about possibly bringing the Rawop into the Shabbat band. I forget the name of it. Once we're all back in the post-COVID world. Yes.
Yeah, when it comes back for its reunion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds amazing. Amazing. That would be beautiful.
And this was the Rawop right here. This is featured by the Bukharan Jews in the Shashmakam tradition. So very much played by the communities in diaspora.
No, you're not in the door.
Those are some real treasures. So nice to see all of you.
We missed you. Did you have a good holiday? Did you have a good vacation, Canner?
I did, but you know that famous song, I got accustomed to her face or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, Friday night, I was like, I've gotten accustomed to their faces. Where are those sweet shining faces?
I'm here.
Shalom.
So good to see you. We didn't have our experiment tonight, but okay.
Okay.
No, we did have an experiment because we all got knocked off of the Zoom and came back. So that was our experiment tonight.
Well, that was a good one. We all passed.
Yeah.
Was that due to the heavy winds?
No, maybe. You think?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat
Shalom,
Shalom.
Rabbi. We missed you last week. We noticed you weren't here.
Good to see you.
That's all right. I was lurking.
Okay, who am I looking for?
Wow, those are nice guitars.
Isn't that amazing?
Hi, Lenny and Eddie.
Hey, Heshi and David.
Hi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, David.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Daphne.
Rabbis.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Dina. Hey, Jessica. Be safe.
Oh.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Say Shabbat Shalom.
But shalom to you as well as that, Ellen.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sounds like Ellen.
Hi, Roz. Hi, Anat. Hey, Alka. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, safe.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Hey.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Wow, that was a very deep voice.
Also, Deborah. Deborah.
Adam, what's your son's name?
This is Boaz, everybody.
Oh,
Boaz.
Shabbat Shalom, Boaz.
Oh, Shabbat Shalom, Boaz.
He is
Shabbat Shalom, Boaz.
he is still ruthless at this moment, I must tell you. Zing.
Very cute.
Did everyone get that, by the way? Ruthless, like Book of Ruth. It's really
Nice.
Yes,
That
Boaz.
went right over
Nice.
the
Boaz and Ruth. Yeah, no. All right. I appreciated it, Adam.
You're welcome.
Way to let everyone in on it. Good.
All right, let's get that one. Everyone get those last Shabbat Shaloms in. We'll get started in just a minute.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. So wonderful to be with congregants, with guests, with friends. There is a famous Yiddish saying, Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. I think I did that okay. The Yiddishists here can correct me, but it translates roughly to people plan and God laughs. We had hoped to be partially in person tonight for the first time in over a year, but alas, the wind had other plans. Did anyone have extremely dangerous winds on your bingo card for 2021? Well, we are reminded in this week's Parsha and more that there are fixed times in our calendar that we come together for celebration, Shabbat among them. While much of the Torah before this week was focused on a physical space, the Mishkan and the tent of meeting, this week's Torah portion turns our attention to Jewish time. Jewish time, wherever we may be, brings our community together. In the words of Achad Ha'am, more than the Jewish people have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. And so our journey back to in-person services might have been delayed a bit, but we still have this sacred time, Shabbat, to bring us together. Please take a moment, either in the chat or you can find someone privately in the chat, to wish your fellow congregants and friends a Shabbat Shalom, and we will join together in song.
Sing with me.
We're honored tonight to have congregants Jamie and David Krakow lead us in our Shabbat blessings, beginning first with the blessing over the candle lighting.
I just knocked it over. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shal Shabbat. Just mine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Barei Peri Hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsha b'yava u'ratzon hinhilchanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila l'mikroei kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim ki banu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kadsha b'yava u'ratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh ha'shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. B'tei avon.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yai, dai, 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 la, 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 ya, la, 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 ya, la, 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 ya, la, la. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני.
With the joy of a wedding, we continue with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם משוכה. סוף מעשה מחשבה תחילה. לכבדותי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לכבדותי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורי קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לכבדותי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לכבדותי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, בואי ושלום התרבלה, גם בשמחה וצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לכבדותי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לכבדותי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We rise in body or in spirit as we continue with our call to worship.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
מי כמוך אלוהים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא נורא תהילות תהילות, עושה פלא פלא, נורא נורא תהילות תהילות, עושה פלא. מי כמוך אלוהים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש.
As more and more of our community has been getting vaccinated, and now that we are so thankful vaccines are truly available for anyone who needs one, everyone who wants one, everyone who should get one who is over 16 and able, I offer this prayer written by Rabbi Naomi Levy, a prayer for receiving the COVID vaccine. I have been praying for this day, and now it is here. With great excitement, a touch of trepidation, and with deep gratitude, I give thanks to all the scientists who toil day and night so that I might receive this tiny vaccination that will protect me and all souls around this world. With the pandemic still raging, I am blessed to do my part to defeat it. Let this be the beginning of a new day, a new time of hope, of joy, of freedom, and most of all, of health. I thank you, God, for blessing me with life, for sustaining my life, and for enabling me to reach this awe-filled moment. As we prepare to sing the Misha Beirach, our prayer for healing, I invite you to type the names into the chat of those that you are holding in your heart tonight.
Misha Beirach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha V'imotenu. May the source of strength will bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Imotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
To bring meaning to the journey we make from Pesach to Shavuot, redemption to revelation, and to bring mindfulness to the everyday, we count this period of the Omer. Please join me in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Tonight begins the 34th day of the Omer, which is 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. When this morning we determined the outdoor driveway Mishkan component of our Shabbat service would need to be postponed because of wind, of all things, I thought of Mary Poppins, who said, "I shall stay until the wind changes." So we shall stay here on Zoom until the wind changes. And we shall be reminded again and again, so much is out of our hands. Yet what we can do is turn to what is in our hands. In these moments of contemplation and the silent Amidah to follow Adonai Sifatai, consider what is in your hands.
Adonai Sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Yulatzon imrefi, ve'hegion libi lefanecha. Yulatzon imrefi, ve'hegion libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri ve'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri ve'goali. May the words that I pray bring me closer to you, closer every day. May the words that I pray bring me closer to you, closer every day. You are my rock, you are my strength, you are my help every day that I am. You are my rock, you are my strength, you are my help from beginning to the end. You let out song imrefi, le'gon libi lefanecha. You let out song imrefi, le'gon libi lefanecha.
Yesterday was truly a special day for our community and for the entire Jewish people, as we were honored to welcome one of the newest members into our congregation and into the people Israel. Caleb, do we have you spotlit? All right, here you are. Wonderful. Yesterday, Caleb, well, I was going to say completed, but really, this is such a lifelong, amazing journey to Judaism, I know, for you, Caleb. And I'll say you completed a major step in that journey, officially completing your conversion, your Beit Din, and your mikvah. But really, as we know, that journey is a lifelong journey. And I know for you, especially, a lifelong journey of Torah study. You probably, we talked about this in the Beit Din, have studied Torah with every single group in this entire congregation, with Prism, with our young friends, with Torah crews, with our Saturday morning Torah study crew. You have seen so many different perspectives of what our Torah has to offer, and taking that all in, have come to truly love Judaism. We are so lucky to have you, to count you among our people. And so today, in front of this congregation, I know we want it to be physically in front of people, but you're still here in front of this congregation. I want to offer you this blessing and officially confer your Hebrew name upon you. And so we say that you are known by the name Caleb, which means you'll always be linked in love to those who gave you life. And from this time forth, you shall also be known within our Jewish community as Caleb Mordechai Bar Avraham Visara. I know this was a special name to you, as one, we talked about your good friend Judah, who converted not that long ago and who was such a mentor to you. Caleb and Judah were the two, if we remember, the two spies that were the ones that had confidence, had faith, when the other 10 spies thought there was no way they could do it, there was no way they could occupy the land. Caleb and Judah came back and said, we can do it. And that positive attitude, that looking forward at the future of our Jewish community, is something I know that you will bring and that you have here with us. And so what a beautiful name. And of course, that middle name, Mordechai, another great man in our Jewish tradition. And I know for you that also was honoring your family of origin, and connecting with your sister, Esther, and Mordechai and Esther. It goes well together. Caleb Mordechai, may this name bring respect to you and honor to the Jewish people. We rejoice to welcome into our midst one who willingly and devotedly helps replenish the ranks of our people. As we have done throughout the ages, I ask God's blessing upon you now. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence be with you always and grant you the most precious gift, the gift of peace. Ken yehi ratzon, may this be God's will. Amen. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov. Yehi lanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehi lanu, ulecho Yisrael. Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yehi lanu.
Perhaps you've heard the story of the man who lives by the river. He hears a radio report that a storm is coming, with winds much like those forecasted for tonight, and the river is going to rush up and flood the town. All the residents should evacuate their homes, but the man says, it's in God's hands. God will save me. The waters rise up and the man climbs to his roof. A woman in a rowboat comes along and shouts, hey, you in there. The town is flooding. Let me take you to safety. But the man shouts back, God will save me. A helicopter hovers overhead, and a guy with a megaphone shouts, hey, you down there. The town is flooding. Let me drop this ladder and I'll take you to safety. But the man shouts back that it is in God's hands. God will save him. What happens to the man? Well, he drowns. And standing at the gates to heaven, he asks God, why did this happen? I waited for you to save me. God says, I sent you a radio report, a rowboat, a helicopter. The rest was in your hands. I don't think the original source on this one was Jewish, but it certainly expresses a key Jewish idea. God's work is in our hands. And I will add, now that the COVID-19 vaccine is widely accessible to adults, God's work is in our arms. With gratitude for the accessibility, I am thinking of all of those worldwide who do not yet have access to the vaccine or care. When we who do have access take responsibility for getting our vaccine, we do God's work in protecting ourselves and protecting others, especially the most vulnerable among us. And that responsibility is clear in Jewish thought. Our tradition's elevation of multiple views creates a big tent of ideas, practices, and people. Our sages teach, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. These and these are the words of the living God, for they are l'shem shemayim, for the sake of the heavens. There is more than one way, more than one truth, but not every way, not every idea. There are some positions that are not l'shem shemayim, for the sake of the heavens. In Jewish thought, there is no space for the anti-vaccination stance. An anti-vaccination position is different from fear of something new or reluctance keeping one from being the very first online, although we were certainly the first online when it was our turn. Anti-vaccination is the refusal to be vaccinated despite one's health status. Judaism is not in conflict with science, and the science on vaccinations is clear. For all of us whose personal health, according to our physician, allows for vaccination, it is a mitzvah. In the original sense of the word, it is a Jewish obligation. It is an obligation not only for our own sake, but also for the sake of all of those in our community who have a medical condition that prevents them from being vaccinated. We are called to our responsibility to those whose health status makes them vulnerable. Perhaps in the Reformed Jewish community, we don't speak enough about obligation. In the case of vaccination, we are obligated in two ways. We are obligated to ourselves and we are obligated to our society. God's work is in our hands. Providing a foundation for Jewish tradition's teaching of pekuach nefesh, preserving a life, the Torah commands us to be careful and watch yourselves. The Talmud understands this to mean that we are obligated to avoid danger. The expectation for self-protection goes beyond avoidance. The Torah also commands we build a parapet on our roof. The guardrail is a proactive obligation to prevent harm. God's work is in our hands. Almost every denomination of Judaism has worked together throughout this year and urges COVID-19 social distancing and vaccination. We have shared research and practices with Reform, Reconstructionist, Conservative, and Orthodox leadership, and across many non-Jewish faith traditions as well. The Conservative Movement's Rabbinical Assembly offered an important teaching from the research of Rabbi David Ruderman about the application of our relevant texts in Jewish history. In the 19th century, there was a debate among Jewish authorities about the risk of introducing a small amount of smallpox into a healthy person. Rabbi Israel Lipschitz was an enthusiastic supporter of the vaccine. He wrote that the infinitesimal risk is appropriate against the much greater risk of contracting the illness. A bit earlier, Abraham ben Solomon of Hamburg published a letter in London in 1785, himself mourning the death of his 2 sons to smallpox. His letter was a passionate argument for inoculation against it. Smallpox was a leading cause of death in Europe in the 18th century, where an estimated 400,000 people died annually. With clear relevance to COVID-19 today, he argued, smallpox was so widespread and so contagious that everyone should be considered at risk, and therefore the benefit of the vaccine, even one that is new and without a long track record, the vaccine was new at the time, it outweighs the risk. Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise, the founder of modern Reform Judaism in America, who had in the 1870s, in the time of yellow fever, been advocating for the need for government to invest in and understanding and addressing the epidemic, and for citizens to donate tzedakah to those most hurt by the epidemic. For then, much like now, citizens did not struggle equitably. Rabbi Wise reflected on the losses and also on the promise of our hands with these words. Many an aching breast today bemoans the loss of what was nearest and dearest. Many a heart that beat high and brave is stilled forever. Hands that never tired of doing good are idly folded. But still above all the misery, above all the desolation, there loomed forth the rainbow of promise in the gloomy sky, the tangible evidence of the innate nobility of humanity. Human beings, not one, not 100, but thousands, were found who gave willing service to the cause of humanity. Eager to reach herd immunity today, to protect the most vulnerable among us, and to gather in person soon. And in our acts of social distancing, hybrid gathering, and vaccination, may we sense the holiness, the mitzvah, and the rainbow of promise. God's work is in our hands. Shabbat Shalom. Lamentations teaches, for these things do I weep. My eyes flow with tears. Far from me is any comforter who might revive my spirit. Understanding there are important questions about how it would be that such a large group gathered or created a stampede. This is a time of grief as we mourn the tragic loss of life of 45 souls in Israel at the Lag BaOmer gathering at the grave of the ancient Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. And this week, our congregation observes yahrzeit for Fanny Anathan, Minna Applebaum, Leroy W. Bacharach, Teresa Becker, Sony Bernstein, Robert S. Blank, Irving E. Block, Herman B. Blumenthal, Jean L. Brody, Reba Parnas Brown, Elta Marie Bobaltz, David Carmosen, Doris Chorney, Barry E. Cohen, Robert Cooper, Edward B. Crane, Wilma Crane, Marion Loeb Dannenberg, Dennis Doherty, Leon Edelson, Charles Kalman Eisman, Minnie B. Eisman, Jeanette Feigenberg, Herman Fischler, Sadie Flax, Eva R. Fox, Marion Sablasky Fox, Doris Freed, Cy Friedman, Bernard Isidore Friedenberg, Boyd Getz, Louis N. Ginsberg, May Goldberg, Elaine Axelbond Goldstein, Benny Golem, Yetta Goodman, Jonathan Levi Grindlinger, Samuel G. Gross, David B. Herron, Abraham Hirsch, Delia Strauss Hirschberg, William Hoffman, Clara Horenstein, Charlotte Horwitz, Rose Wolf Kabakow, Albert K., Philip Kirschner, Benson Krieger, Robert Stephen Krause, Nathan Kurz, Irving Harry Kutcher, Abe H. Lang, Harry Klein Lax, Betty Levine Levinson, Joel H. Levitt, Jacob Levy, S. Vance Levenstein, Bernard Margulies, Bertha Marks, Robert A. Marlowe, Alma Marion, Jeanette M. Moskowitz, Maxwell H. Nemmer, Lena Teitelbaum Newman, Sadie C. Nussbaum, Hilda Pincus, Helen Powis, Aaron Rabinowitz, Gertrude C. Ravitsky, Donald Ross, Matthew Rottenberg, S. Lewis Rubinson, Merle Wood Sadie, Nellie Rosenbluth Schwartz, Donna Silverman, Francis Smith, Sophie Smith, Leon Salas Cohen Jr., Adelina Sullivan, Sarah Soltroff, Ida Sperling, Ruth Spielberg, Caroline Stepbacher, Henrietta B. Stern, Mitchell Stern, Joan Stern Switzenbaum, Bertha Waisbane, Anna Mae Jaffe Walter, Martha Miller Weinberg, Gabriel D. Weiss, Rose B. Weiss, Ella Seidenbach Wolf, William Woolsey, Lucille Zelenko, Matilda Zaretsky. We add the names of those who've been taken from our midst, but not from our hearts, in these most recent days, for whom we observe Shloshim. Lois Elkman, Estelle Ehrlich, Robert A. Fox, Linda Gross, Ronald Littman, Victor Rosenberg. And if you are observing Yahrzeit or Shloshim for someone I didn't call, please feel free to call that name into the chat now. Together, we continue in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma d'varach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudashah barechu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, shushbachata v'nechamata, Zamiran be'alma v'yamru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yamru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring comfort to the bereaved and peace to each of you. And together we say, Amen.
Oh God, my God, forever I will praise you. Oh God, my God, forever I will thank you. Oh conclude our Shabbat service with the singing of a song for peace. Ose Shalom. Ose Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen.
May the one in the high heavens bring peace upon us, upon Israel, and upon the